Muslim representation in the media is not as it should be. I believe it's not realistic, it's not who we are. When I look at TV shows and, you know, wherever they're on the media and I see Muslim representations, I feel like this is not me. I don't feel represented in here.
We wanted to ask locals in New Zealand to reflect on the mosque attacks in Christchurch on March 15th, 2019. Has this attack been forgotten? Could such a tragedy bring any positives? Did the attacks affect the non-Muslim community? 15 days, 15 videos, marking the 2-year anniversary of the day that shook New Zealand. This is what they had to say.
Yeah, it probably has. It's certainly in the news more, but in New Zealand especially, it's more about we're all the same nation with lots of different cultures and religions, and that basically we should be tolerant of each other.
Yeah, I think it has. I think was some self-awareness that people have now in New Zealand. So I think people with that awareness, the way Muslims have been portrayed has slightly changed.
I think we also need to be wary of the potential of fake news as well, because a lot of news articles, and especially in American and Western media, like to have clickbait articles, and for that reason they like to target minorities or extremist areas, and so we need to be careful in those areas. But we are making a change, I think, in New Zealand, so that's good.
Yes, I think it changed a little bit, and now media can actually make a difference between Muslim community and terrorists, for example. They can completely distinct the two things.
I think that the media, along with the general population of New Zealand, is more educated now and a little bit more inclined to look beyond what is being fed to them from overseas. I think people are now more open-minded and more willing to see everyone as equals.
That's a good question. I can't say that I've seen anything solid enough in the media to assure people that there has been enough to show a change or that kind of thing. I think there could definitely be so much more diversity in New Zealand media, be it the news or film or television, the people making the films, people's stories, that kind of thing. But I think, yeah, I think it's the beginning of a changing time. I hope a grassroots, children growing up with, no one's born racist or Islamophobic. You learn it. So I think when people are teaching their children today, I think in 20 years the people that are around will be much more, just less horrible, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
I see that after the attack, especially like in Ramadan, we can see more media representatives. They try, put effort to go along to the activities in our daily life. So I think that in New Zealand generally, the media are trying to send message to the public through their news, through their commentary and all that. So I find it's helped. It helps to get a better understanding about the life of us Muslims in New Zealand, and also in our perspective towards politics and the current affairs and what is happening in the world.
Not really. It wouldn't change to the good thing, to be honest. I believe that the way Muslims are represented in the media is always attacking them and increasing the sense of Islamophobia, giving people reason to be Islamophobics. I believe that Muslim representation in the media is not as it should be. I believe it's not realistic, it's not who we are. When I look at TV shows and, wherever they're on the media and I see Muslim representations, I feel like this is not me. I don't feel represented in here. And it's not like a show or two, but like plenty of them.
Absolutely. Beforehand, I the media probably didn't say a whole lot about the Muslim community, and when it was typically about world events and connected to ISIS, which was the main reason of how people developed these horrible opinions towards the Islam community. But it definitely has changed for the better. On shows like The Project and stuff, the hosts have always been very accepting. They've interviewed members of the Muslim community, and a lot of people have shown the views that the community represents, and it goes against the hateful sort of views that a lot of people thought they had.
Absolutely, I think it has changed. I think it's brought to light, I guess, that that there is those feelings in the community. That I think it also brought forward the level of support. You know, talking about the positives that came from it, I think it really brought together a country of all religions, all races, all backgrounds, and really showcased that we are a country that is, I guess, very, very inclusive for the most part, which was actually quite beautiful to see.
I think, yeah, they have changed. Now, they sometimes they show like Muslims are very bad and doing this crime, doing that. Our religion is very peaceful. We share love, we share kindness. So that's our Islam teaches. Look after the neighbors, care to the respect to the elders. That's all about.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Well, for me specifically, that I find the portrayal of Muslims in media fairly common. I just feel like it's not really a thing that it's not really kind of one of the main features in media that I kind of see is that like it's someone's religion or something like that. But I would say that has changed, and probably, yeah, for a better.
Definitely. I definitely think it's changed a bit, especially after that. It's gotten a lot better of light. Yeah, a lot more knowledge as well about it.
I would say that it's made Muslim people more visible in the news media, like entertainment figures, like comedians, for instance, and people involved in other areas of entertainment, as well as in the news media. It's made people more visible. And I think it's changed that, just from what I've seen from my own experience, is that it's more people talking more directly about issues of racism. And the fact that we have different, taking New Zealand as an example, that we have, it's a very diverse country and there's different immigrants groups, and it's caused people to more directly talk about the fact that we do have a lot of different groups living in New Zealand and that they exist. And there's issues of racism that exists around that and ignorance. So I have seen more coverage in the news media about those sorts of issues.
I would say in general, perhaps internationally, no, because we're still being represented as terrorists and a lot of people still think that a lot of the misconceptions in Islam are still true, such as women are oppressed, and there's, for example, a lot more attention towards terrorist attacks who just happen to be Muslims as opposed to non-Muslim terrorists. But in terms of the local sphere, I haven't seen much negativity in the media around Muslims themselves, so I haven't noticed much change either, but not in a bad sense. But in terms of international media, a lot of those negative stereotypes I feel are still out there and are still in media headlines. So not much change, but it's not so good.
Definitely, and it's especially prevalent in New Zealand. I'd say that when it comes to Western societies such as the States, the Netherlands, or where I'm living right now, New Zealand, once again, I'd like to reiterate on the levels of social awareness. People are a lot more aware of Muslim rights, and more so, like I've said before, the societies in which I've lived in Asia as well, that has less indulged on the notion of Muslim rights, they've always, well, nowadays, they've been more aware of it. I think from the international perspective, a lot of societies are now aware, especially in those from which I have mentioned, to portray senses or notions of Islamophobia. Their levels of social awareness have definitely risen when it comes to religious awareness. Hence, I think right now, in the case of New Zealand, governments are bonding together. They're trying to collaborate with New Zealand more and more. They're trying to sympathize with what's going on in New Zealand more and more. And I think specifically for the government over here, I think everyone's trying to show their support to New Zealand. It's been something that's been very prevalent on social media, and indeed, not only in New Zealand, but the world shows its hearts to New Zealand.
Yeah, the media, there's been a lot of change. I think that the media now has become more positive now. I think that what's happened through all the negativity and events that happened in Christchurch can bring on a lot of tension and misunderstanding about Islam. And I think that now that media is kind of a bit of a wake-up call for them and how they approach Islam, how they approach any type of topic outside of Islam and deal with things now. Instead of going out there trying to, with the old media way that we've done media in the past, I think it's a lot different now.
I'm not a big news person, I don't watch news a lot, but I do know that every time something like that happens, it is always on the news, and there's always going to be two different opinions to an event. Someone's going to be like, oh, this is a terrorist, we need to stop this community, it's not good what they're doing. And then there's always going to be another side which is trying to understand the problem and really try to use the media to be able to portray a nicer message of that community. And, you know, I mean, people have their own views and opinions on what the media is currently, but personally, I do think the media is portraying the Muslim community as, you know, something that is to be afraid of. Not necessarily only in New Zealand, but also across the globe. And I do think that people should really start to realize that even though we're different, each and every one of us, when we step back, we're all humans, you know, we're all part of the same community, part of the same whānau, and that, you know, we all live on this planet, so we should be more aware of how we live on it together.
I've seen. I think that what changes, not sure if that was really a change, but I guess the support has maybe increased, which is a good thing because it kind of in Belgium what happened when the bombing happened, it's like it just separates both parties even more, and here I feel like from what I could feel from home and from all the Facebook stuff, like that's not who we are post. It seemed like actually it was more of a increase of support toward the community.
I believe that as the world, or at least nowadays, people are starting to become more progressives and more aware of things that are happening as we become more connected. I believe that people are generally more aware that these occurrences are happening, and I'd like to hope that because people are more aware that they are able to stop or recognize when these things are happening. At least I hope that as well for myself, that I'm able to recognize when these things are happening to me or the people around me.
I think you just check one point of view on the media. You don't have like a lot of different way, like to, what you say. I just checked the normal news, and I was just saying about like, I think just the Prime Minister changed some law very directly, like changed for the guns permission and stuff. I think it was very nice to change so quickly, and that show everyone the government are like doing some actions about it. I think that's one of the only countries do that, you know, like in US or some country there's a lot of killing and nothing changed. I think it was a good decision to just ban all the guns and stuff to not happen again.
Yes, of course, because after the incident happened, now the New Zealand governments are more strict about these activities, and they more focused on what is going on and more concerned about Muslim community in Queenstown and all part of the New Zealand?
Yes and no. I think the mainstream media has changed, and we know that because I do give interviews in a lot of medias, and I think there's a lot more platforms now. Although those platforms has always been there for us anyway, but the target is we do forums like this. It's not just the people that are already with us that needs to be talked to. But more the point is the people that actually don't understand Islam, like the people that wrote the graffiti on the QIC and all that. By God, I want to actually serve them the cup of coffee. Actually, those are the one that I want to have a cup of cake together, you know, the one that I want to have a meal with them, so I can give them the proper understanding of Islam, or on a more casual basis, where they can ask all the questions, whatever anger or anguish or whatever distortions of the understanding of Islam that they have, that needs to be addressed head on.